Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Again, it is Wednesday. All of our guests today brought to you by, as mentioned, the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group. Let's get right to Ian Furness from KJR FM Sports Radio down in Seattle. They play entire albums. Like both sides. You remember the old days of FM when they just you'd have the DJ, he sounded Stone, he'd put on the whole side of Sgt. Pepper's and leave. Is that the way it's going to be with KJR now?
Synchronicity too, free bird, absolutely.
Yeah.
You find the longest tracks you can find, man. That's what I did that when I was in college. Absolutely. I had to go find the Pizza Man.
Or the best album of the 80s, Billy Idol's Rebel Yell, in my opinion. Just put
Great
it on.
album. Great album.
First album, Let Her Fly. Okay, Ian, we all know what's happened. People in Vancouver all know and all care about what's happening down in the Seattle sports scene. Russell Wilson off to Denver. Seahawks also releasing Bobby Wagner. What a day. What's your reaction? What's the reaction been amongst fans in Seattle?
Wait a second. I thought Rick was going to ask me about the Kraken losing last night to Toronto.
No.
And the McCann deal.
Jared McCann, biggest story in Seattle yesterday, Ian. Come on.
It was a story for about 20 minutes, and then that happened. Yeah, listen, I was surprised it happened this year. I was surprised it happened when it did. I wasn't really surprised it happened overall in the sense that with the contract that he was going to be up for next year, I still kind of felt all along like we were a year away from this day happening. But, the one thing to keep in mind with Russell Wilson, for him to be traded, he had to want to be traded. So he wanted to be traded. He wanted to be moved out of Seattle. He had a no-trade clause in his deal. And for them to even talk to Denver, entertain anything like that, they had to get his approval. And obviously, he's already there. We've seen pictures of him and his agent flying into the private jet. And so he is now a Denver Bronco. It's been a rough time here in Seattle. I think people are mixed. There's some that are happy to see him go, and there's other people that are real sad to see a franchise quarterback leave the town. But you don't trade a franchise quarterback unless you have to, and I think they had to.
Bobby Wagner.
Salary cap casualty. It's really as simple as that in the NFL. Salary cap league. He was going to make close to $20 million this season as a middle linebacker. And I know that, at the end of the season, he was asked about maybe restructuring his deal, extending it, doing whatever it could to kind of alleviate some of those numbers off the cap. And he had no desire to do so. And I think they were left with no choice as an organization. People say, why not trade him? Well, the reason he's getting cut in the first place is because of that salary cap hit. So no one was willing to take that on at $20 million for an aging linebacker. He's a great player. He's the most decorated Seahawk of all time in terms of all-pro honors, but they just could not afford to keep him under the current salary cap rules, and so they move on from him. So it was, I think that was kind of hey, Russell's gone, there's a trade, and oh, by the way, we'll leak the news that Bobby Wagner is going to be released as well.
Who will the Seahawks starting quarterback be next year, and what's the general opinion or your opinion of what they got in return for Russell from the Broncos? A lot there.
Well, yeah, I think what they got in return was good. Carson Wentz just got traded from the Colts to the Washington, was it the Commodores or whatever they're called?
I don't like it.
Yeah. They just, and that deal, I think, kind of gives you a feel for how well Seattle did. I mean, there's a second round pick, a conditional second, a third. Seattle ends up with 2 first-round picks, second-round picks. They get 3 players in return. I don't know if Drew Lock is the guy. I'll get back to that in a second. But Noah Fant can play. You don't have to re-sign Gerald Everett as a tight end. And they get a defensive lineman that by all accounts, fits perfectly into this defense. So the haul they got back for Russell Wilson, not just picks, but players that can help you, at least 2 of those 3. We'll see. The quarterback, there are some of the organization that told me yesterday that they like him. They think that there's something there. They look back to his rookie year in 2019 when he finally played after being hurt. Played the last 5 games, was 4-1. 2020's pandemic year. You can't really do much about that. Nobody can prepare you. It's hard to judge anybody on that year. And then last year, because of that whole 18-month period of not having a rookie quarterback being able to progress, they kind of chalk it up to that. So I think, but I don't think, Donnie, to answer your question, I don't think the quarterback's on the roster right now.
The Commodores gave up a brick house to the Colts.
Oh, look at that, Lionel Richie, huh?
Yeah.
That's a great poll. We'll play that later today on 93.3 KJR FM.
The entire album.
Got some Commodores, absolutely.
So you got tons of cap space in Seattle. Now you got a lot of draft picks. What's the plan going? Is it a rebuild? Do you go out and get a QB? What are your thoughts, Ian, with all this multitude of money to play with? $49 million, third most in the NFL. What happens?
You know, it's funny as you're saying that, Rick. Dolly, I'm thinking the Kraken have the same thing, don't they? Except they don't have a lot of draft picks.
Yeah,
we have a lot of cap space in Seattle right now. That's good.
Yes.
Help pay for our gas prices down here. I listen. I think as far as like everyone wants to define right now, and I get it because we're the same way. I mean, I do what you guys do. We're trying to define: are they in a rebuild? Are they in a retool? Are they in the Ray Ferraro no plan realm? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. Here's what I think we'll know. Next week, free agency begins on Monday when you can start negotiating with free agents. Wednesday you can sign, but really all the dirty work gets done on Monday and Tuesday next week. Let's see what they do. If they bring back Quandre Diggs and sign Rashad Penny and maybe bring back Dwayne Brown on a 1 or 2 year deal, and if they do some of that work with their own players, not outside players, but their own players that are key guys to bring back, then I think it signals that they feel like they can get this thing flipped pretty quick, and maybe are just a quarterback away, a quarterback they can either find in the draft or develop Drew Lock. That's when we know that. If not, like if we see Diggs walk and we see other guys walk and they're not as active on that free agent market, then maybe it is a complete rebuild. But, it's hard for me, and I think I am kind of in the minority down here. There are people that disagree. I have a hard time thinking a team that's got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jordan Brooks, Jamal Adams, just to name a few, on the roster, that they're in what we would call a rebuild. The NFL is not a rebuild league unless you're Jacksonville or the Jets. And we've seen how those rebuilds have gone, not well. So I don't think there's truly a rebuild most of the time in the NFL anyway. I just don't think that really exists like it does in other sports. It's a win-now league, and I think a 71-year-old coach wants to win right now.
Ian, one more. Fans get emotionally attached to players, big names. When they leave, there's a lot of sadness, and sometimes guys ask for trades. It was surprising for me to hear another reporter in Seattle say "good riddance" to Russell Wilson. Did you get that sense? There's a lot of people in Seattle happy he's gone.
Who was that? A reporter said that?
Who was it?
Ian Furness from KJR.
No, it was. It was listening to this morning. Ryan knows.
Okay.
Bruff and Ruff had him on.
Softy was on with Halford and Bruff.
I think he said good riddance.
He didn't specifically say good riddance.
Something to that effect.
He clearly is okay with him departing.
Yeah.
But I would say.
What do you think the mood is of the fans?
I think Softy is the biggest fan of all. And so I think he does reflect a lot of people, what they think. I'll go back to what I first said. Russell wanted to leave Seattle, right? Like he wanted to leave Seattle. If he didn't want to leave, it's really simple. If he didn't want to leave Seattle, he's not being traded. They're not entertaining offers. So I think there's some frustration from fans. Nobody likes to say, as a fan, have some athlete say, you know what, I don't want to be here. I'm out. I don't want to be around you guys. And I think that people do take it personally. I know Softy and I've talked about this quite a bit. Russell's changed. Listen, here's the thing. It went from, and these are his phrases. These are phrases that he's, especially the first one. In 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, those glory years of the Seahawks, they had a saying in the locker room. They had a saying in the huddle. If you hear like the mic'd up segments, you heard it all the time. Why not us? And Russell was at the forefront. Why not us? Well, why not us in Seattle has turned into my legacy, right? Think about that. Like, why not us? No, it's my legacy. Well, your legacy is more important than the team. That's kind of what he's saying right now. And so, and the whole, married to a pop star, the kind of the celebrity guy that he's tried to turn into, I think it's worn thin on a lot of people. And I do think Softy, as much of a goof as he is, and he's my friend and he's my goof, so I can say that, but and my coworker, but I think he speaks for a lot of fans down here.
Yeah.
And we've received a request into our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox from Francine in Renton. She'd like you to play side 2 of Dark Side of the Moon. So go spin that, and we'll get you back on our show pretty soon.
I love it. And the good thing about this today is that when I turn on the podcast on my way home, so I don't have to listen to Softy, I can just shuttle through this segment. I don't have to listen to this segment because I know how it went. I'll listen to Craig Button instead.
Yeah.
Seahawks' next big move will get you back on the show.
The Kraken's next big move will get you on.